Oh yeah, what's going on, Dolphins fans? So glad to be back for my second edition of Dolphins Today. If you missed the show yesterday, I am your new full-time host, Jake Riepma. So glad to be with each and every one of you. And what better time to start than game week? Who's excited for Dolphins football? I know I am. I'm excited to be at Chat Sports, excited to be a part of Dolphins Today, and excited to kick off the season this week. And let me know how excited you are. Go ahead and hit like on this video, and let's just get it going. We're one day closer, baby. Dolphins football on the road against the Chargers on Sunday. It's in the later window. It's going to be a 4:25 start, but that's all right. You know, it just gives us more time to amp it up for that watch party. But hey, the depth chart was released today, so we got some things to talk about, some interesting takeaways from the 53-man roster, from the depth chart that was released today. So let's go ahead and get into it, because first and foremost, we got to talk about that offensive line. It's an area in which the Dolphins certainly don't have a lot of depth, and today Liam Eichenberg is going to be your starting left guard. Now, again, keep in mind, this is a depth chart. Things can change, but that left guard position is what stood out to me when that initial depth chart was released earlier today. Liam Eichenberg at the left guard position. We know Connor Williams will be your starting center, Robert Hunt over at right guard, the youngster Austin Jackson at right tackle. And we're assuming Teron Armstead is going to start at left tackle. I know he didn't practice as much this week, but Mike McDaniel said he's trending and progressing into becoming the starting left tackle and ready to go in week one. But Liam Eichenberg, how do you feel about him as your starting left guard? It might not be the case on Sunday, but right now we got to believe that Liam Eichenberg is your starting left guard. So let's go ahead, take a look at some of his stats from 2022. 627 snaps, so a decent sample size that we're working with here. Just the 2 sacks allowed. You feel good about that number. Only 2 sacks allowed for Liam Eichenberg a year ago. Allowed 7 hits on the quarterback and 18 hurries. But here's the number that concerns me. The Pro Football Focus run grade for Liam Eichenberg grading out at just a 43. So that, for me, is some area of concern with him as your starting left guard. So crucial to be able to establish that running game from the very jump. And with Liam Eichenberg at the left guard position, and based on the historical data from those 2022 stats, you don't feel good about it. So who's his possible backup, or perhaps could become a guy that sees a lot of time at the left guard position? How about Isaiah Wynn? Now, important to note here, these stats are from his 77 snaps in the preseason. So this is his production from this year's preseason. Isaiah Wynn got a chance to play quite a bit this preseason in 77 snaps, just the 1 sack allowed, 1 hit allowed, no hurries. But again, that Pro Football Focus run grade, not exceptional over at 48.6. So Eichenberg or Wynn. That brings us to our pinned comment for today. That's right, baby. It's the pinned comment. So if YouTube hits you with that ad break, pay no attention. Just let me know who you want to start at left guard. Give me an IW for Isaiah Wynn or LE for Liam Eichenberg. That's our conversation today. Who do you want to start at left guard? IW for Isaiah Wynn or LE for Liam Eichenberg. We've got other depth chart takeaways to get into as well. How about the running back room? We know Raheem Mostert has established himself as RB1, but as of today's depth chart, Salvon Ahmed is your RB2. I found that a little bit surprising, but hey, we know it's going to be a running back by committee anyways, and all of these guys, in my humble opinion, are capable of being playmakers with the ball in their hands. So Raheem Mostert, your RB1, Salvon Ahmed, your RB2, and don't forget about the speedster, Devon Achane at RB3. Again, I feel great with any of those 3 guys toting the rock for the Dolphins and being that complement to Tua and the offense. And we know what the damage that Tua and the receivers can do through the air, but the running backs are going to be so important as well. Don't forget about Alex Ingold, the fullback, blocking for all of them. He inked that extension, and he's also was named one of the team captains earlier today. Alex Ingold, kind of that glue that holds the locker room impression. But I've really been impressed with Salvon Ahmed so far in the preseason. I think that's largely why you saw him earn that nod to be RB2 as the Dolphins get set for the Chargers in Week 1. So what are some other takeaways that we've got from the depth chart being released? How about Brandon Jones being named the starting safety for the Miami Dolphins, because the secondary was an area of weakness a year ago. So that being said, Brandon Jones is your starting safety, and Javon Holland. Those are two guys that the Dolphins will look to shore up that secondary. And for Vic Fangio in year number 1 as the defensive coordinator, he's going to be counting on those guys quite a bit to anchor that secondary. Now, in addition to Javon Holland and Brandon Jones, of course, you've got DeShon Elliott. I think that's who you'll see most as far as mixing in with that safety position. You've also got on the safety side of things, Verone McKinley and Elijah Campbell. But DeShon Elliott, I think, is going to compete for that safety position and a lot of times. Because keep in mind, Jones did not play in the preseason, so really expect DeShon Elliott to mix in as part of that regular group of defensive backs for Vic Fangio's defense here in year number 1. But I do got to leave it up to you guys. Who do you want to see at that safety position? Brandon Jones didn't play in the preseason. DeShon Elliott, also a guy that can make some plays. So let me know in the comments. Go ahead and type BJ for Brandon Jones or DE for DeShon Elliott. Who do you want to be that ball-hawking safety for the Miami Dolphins in Week 1 against the Chargers? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. We got a couple more depth chart takeaways to get to as we continue with Dolphins today. How about the cornerback position? Because it's important to note, the cornerbacks, only 2 were listed as far as the starters for the Miami Dolphins. You've got Xavien Howard and Kader Kohou. Both of those guys have proven to make an impact. Howard was named one of the team captains. And don't forget about some of the backups. I think Eli Apple is going to be cornerback number 3, the first guy that you'll see in there. And then Kelvin Joseph, who came in from that trade with the Dallas Cowboys earlier in the preseason. Kelvin Joseph trying to kind of resurrect his NFL career. He was a former second-round draft pick, just really hasn't made an impact in the NFL yet. But perhaps the change in scenery in Miami could be exactly what he needs. But only 2 starters at the cornerback position. And again, this is kind of somewhat of a guessing game with it being Vic Fangio's first year as the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. So as with any position, we're going to find out a lot more on Sunday and as the season progresses. But I do think Eli Apple is going to be cornerback number 3, and then maybe we'll see Kelvin Joseph mixed in there as well. Other depth chart takeaways to get into, I think it's important to note that Braxton Berrios is going to be your do-it-everything on the return side of things, your kick returner, your punt returner, and we know he's going to be called on to catch some balls for Tua and that offense for the Dolphins as well. But he's a versatile player. He's a guy that can make an impact in special teams. So look for Braxton Berrios to be active, yes, offensively, but also an impact player from the special teams position on both kick return and punt return. But let's just say, for argument's sake, as we start to brainstorm what all this could mean, there are other options in the kick return and the punt return game. Raheem Mostert, yes, he's RB1, so you don't want to necessarily be calling on him for too many things, but he's a viable option for a kick returner. And then really it's just the running back room, because you got Devon Achane. He's a speed demon. He can be a gasser in the kick return game, and Salvon Ahmed as well. Salvon Ahmed made a couple of plays last year where he just took off, and there you go. That's a guy that can be dynamic with the ball in his hands. So I feel good about any of those guys, but of course, Braxton Berrios being your starter at the punt return and kick return position. How about some other punt return options? Cedric Wilson Jr., remember, he took a pay cut to be a part of this Dolphins team, and you know what? If special teams are a way he can continue to prove his value for this Dolphins team. I don't hate seeing him on the punt return options, especially as maybe your punt returner number 2. River Craycraft, same type of thing. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the cheetah, right? I mean, fastest player in the NFL? Maybe, so he can go ahead and be one of your punt return options as well, but I really don't think that we'll see him in that role, given how much he means as a wide receiver. So, that said, I always like having an established punt returner and kick returner. Braxton Berrios can be that guy. Hey, it's day number 2 for me here at Dolphins Today, and I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you to subscribe for more updates, more Dolphins updates, breaking news, rumors. I said yesterday, hey, everybody in the office calls me new guy until I meet my subscription goal, which is great news. We met it yesterday, so way to go, Dolphins fans. I knew you guys would show out, and that's exactly what you did. But if some is good, more is better. Smash that subscription for me, and we'll continue to climb. And I gotta prove myself around here in the Chat Sports offices and in the Chat Sports headquarters. So the more the merrier. Come one, come all. Love to have you a part of Dolphins Today. Let's run through a few more quarterback depth chart takeaways, or depth chart takeaways in general, I should say, starting with that quarterback position. A team captain, the unquestioned leader, Tua Tagovailoa. But Mike White has been named QB2, and you take a look at the production that he had last year, makes a lot of sense. And Skylar Thompson, their QB number 3. All, I would say, Thompson and White both capable of stepping in and filling that backup role. And maybe, just maybe, we'll see Thompson be part of that emergency third quarterback that doesn't necessarily count as one of the roster spots on game day. So remember, that was a new rule implemented into the NFL this year. But Tua Tagovailoa, Mike White, and Skylar Thompson round out the quarterback position. And the wide receiver room, very well established. Tyreek Hill, one of the best in the game. Jalen Waddle, all indications are that he is fully healthy and ready to go. Remember, he missed some time with that abdominal injury earlier in the preseason, but he's back to practicing this week. And man, am I excited to see that 1-2 punch of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. We talked about Braxton Berrios. He's a guy that's going to make an impact from the slot position, and of course, in addition to all of his special teams duties. And then you got Cedric Wilson Jr. and River Craycraft as well. Now, the tight end room is a little bit thinner than one might have expected with just the 3 names there. But Durham Smythe, your unquestioned tight end number 1. Tyler Kroft back on the roster for the Dolphins. And Julian Hill, the undrafted free agent out of Campbell. Get this, first Campbell player to make the NFL. So neat to see Julian Hill as tight end number 3. And I feel good about the Dolphins offense altogether. So while we look ahead to Sunday, go ahead and give me that score prediction. I'm still waiting to give you mine, but predict the score of Dolphins versus Chargers in the comment. As we trend closer and closer to game time, I got to tell you, I just get more and more confident in this Dolphins team. And you start looking at the depth chart with it being released today, and it's just such a rich roster of talent on the offensive side, and I'm excited to see what they've got in store for us this season. So let's take a look at the defensive side of things, starting with that defensive line depth chart. Zach Sieler, my fellow Division II guy out of Ferris State University, inked up that 3-year extension, ready to make an impact for the Miami Dolphins. Christian Wilkins was named a team captain earlier today, and Raquan Davis as the nose tackle as well. Love the Dolphins defensive line. On the edge, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. I'm excited to watch Bradley Chubb be reunited with Vic Fangio because, remember, they spent some time together in Denver when Fangio was the head coach, and that's who originally drafted Bradley Chubb. So high expectations for him as well. Linebacker room is solid with David Long, your inside linebacker, and Jerome Baker. Love both those guys and the impact that they can have for this Dolphins defense. And overall, you really got to be excited. You got to be optimistic about the Dolphins as a complete roster. And yeah, it's going to be quite the test in week number 1 against the Chargers. But this is what it's all about, baby. This is what makes it fun. You've got the Dolphins, you got the Chargers, a test on week 1 on the road. Underdogs, no better place to start the 2023 season than on the road as an underdog to make a statement. And that's what I'm excited to see the Dolphins do in week number 1. So as always, subscribe to Dolphins Today, videos every day, breaking news, injury notes, rumors, you name it. If it relates to the Dolphins, we're talking about it here on Dolphins Today. And again, if you're just joining us today, yesterday was my first show. Back at it today. I'll be your host all season long, Jake Riepma. So glad to be in the position to talk Dolphins football each and every day with the best fans there are, the Dolphins fans. So subscribe, youtube.com/Dolphins News, and we'll continue to get you ready for game day on Sunday against the Chargers.